Okay, Colleen, this is our third and final pre-observation. How's things going right now with Gregory?
Pretty good.
Yeah? Okay. Well, let's go over this. I know we talked about the fact that you actually had to recreate a lesson because you're doing something different than what you initially thought you were doing. So why don't you tell me a little bit about what your lesson is going to be about?
Well, today I started the text. I was a third grade spy, and he was reading it. He really wanted to read it, so we talked about maybe him having had all this background and all these skills, if he could then apply them to a chapter book.
Okay.
So my initial plan was that I was going to, I was going to give him the sheet that said tricky words, so he would skim for tricky words, which I actually have been giving him those for word work and reading connected text, and that's been working great.
Okay.
So I realized that I cannot take that scaffold away yet. So I have to I had to revisit that, what I'm going to do.
That's good though, that you realized that that's, you were very in tune to what he can do and what he can't do. So that was great.
The prediction is fine. He's good at making a prediction. During reading, we've been asking questions. He would read the whole chapter, had no questions. I even stopped him. Are you sure you don't have a question right now? Nope, I don't have a question. And he got to the end of the chapter, and we were talking about summarizing, and we were going to do this together and talk about it, but I realized very quickly that he really couldn't tell me anything, and the information he was giving me was incorrect.
So what did you gather then by doing this activity for the first thing that you were doing in this chapter? What did you gather?
That I need to definitely break it down a little bit.
Okay. What are some things that you were thinking about doing?
Well, I'm going to go back to doing the vocabulary the way I have for word work. I've been doing the vocabulary. I have a procedure for that, and that was working out really well. I was taking actually sentences from the text, and we were looking at those, so it kind of was setting him up a little bit for comprehension for the text. And then in reading connected text, I was either taking an excerpt from the text or creating a new one that either connected thematically or from the vocabulary words that gave him a little bit deeper understanding.
Okay.
So because I'm not doing nonfiction anymore, and this is, he really needs to develop some strengths in fiction text, I'm going to stick with it, even though I thought I was going to throw it out the window.
Yeah.
And I'm going to teach the vocabulary in context, out of context, to develop an understanding of all of it. And then for reading connected text, I'm going to use those words in a pre-made story by me. Okay. And have him read through it, and try to articulate the meaning of
Now, are you doing the word work prior to this?
Yes.
And then what's your expectation or hope with him utilizing the text that you give him and he's reading? What is your
I'm hoping that it deepens his understanding, but when I read, what I want to do is have you come in and see if I am scaffolding enough when we do the text, because that's all going to be done when you come in. I want you to come in for comprehension and see if I'm breaking it down enough, because what I'm going to do is what I was doing before. I thought I could pull the scaffold, but I can't yet.
That's what you said, and I think, like I said, you gauged him and you realized he can't, so yeah.
I'm going to put sticky notes and force him to stop and talk about it. And I was wondering if possibly having a question there that he has to answer from the text would be helpful. So
you are you gonna the sticky gonna have a question on there, or are you having him make up the question?
He was making up the question before, but I think in this I was considering making a question that will show me that he understands. And if he can't answer it, then I want him to understand what he has to do in order to be able to answer it. The text, I want him just to understand the text instead of running through it. I want him to stop. So, I guess I want you to see if I'm prompting him to go back properly. If there's another way I can do it. I really haven't come across this too much where a child can decode and read everything in front of him,
Mm-hmm.
but can tell you nothing about the text.
Yeah.
I mean, he's got a great mind. All the stuff we were doing in the picture books, but I was walking him through
Sure.
a lot of it, like page by page, and we were stopping and making connections, and he was, getting all of that after. But I was supporting him a lot, so I thought I could pull away, and I think I can,
But some, yeah.
but not that much. But also, I've raised the level of the text.
Yes, you have. I remember we just talked about that earlier. What during his testing, his pre-testing, what was his score with, if you remember, and if you don't, that's okay, with his comprehension questions?
On the 3rd grade level, it was like 50%.
Okay, so 3rd grade was 50. Okay. Is he instructional at 2nd? Are you instructing at 2nd?
Yeah.
Okay. I have the same one. Okay. Instructing at 2nd. So what is possibly a strategy that you could use in this text to help him? Like, okay, so he reads this, you give him a question, he doesn't remember, because that's kind of par for his course from what you're saying to me. What's another strategy that you might be able to employ, or so that he can be successful?
Well, I guess before we encounter the text, I was going to say to him, if you're not understanding, what do good readers do? Because we've talked about that they go back and reread and everything, and I'm hoping that he'll see the question, and then if he can't answer it, go back, or maybe I can show him that he needs to have this. Do you think it would be better if he knows the question before he reads it?
There's two schools of thought. A lot of times I know they say for tests, they'll say, oh, don't let the kids read the question. I'm a fan, personally, of reading the question so that people, what the expectation is. So a student knowing the expectation to what to look for, especially with him, that very well may be helpful.
Yes.
So I think that idea that you're having is a good one. Let him see it so that he can, if he see, oh, okay, and then he can answer it and then continue on with the text, but at least then he knows it.
Okay. I almost feel like I need to stop page by page.
Okay.
Because.
And why would you want to do that? What would be the benefit?
Because I stopped him today when he was reading chapter 2 verbally, and I said to him, do you have any questions right now? Do you know what's going on? And he was like, yeah, but then when we got to the end and I said, can you summarize the chapter? He went right to the last thing and said, they're going to pay lots of money for him.
But that was the last thing.
It's just the last thing he read. Like, he just keeps...
Okay. Does he know he can look back in the text?
Well, that's what he does. And
Okay.
I go, well, a little bit more happened than that. What happened in the beginning? So we'll go back to the beginning, and he'll just read something off here. When Artful started talking, he just literally starts reading it.
Well, okay, so let me...
I could go from here, but for right now, I'm just going to stick to him understanding.
No, I think that's a good place to go forward, and I think that's a good place to stop with him, because that's something he needs.
All right, good.
Anything else?
I don't think so.
Okay, I think we answered pretty much everything about the sequencing, what you're going to do first, second, next, what you hope for him to have done, and then the fact that you're a little bit, I don't want to use the word dumbfounded, but I don't have anything else about how he can read and read beautifully but not remember a lick of what he's doing. So I know that's something that you're dealing with, trying to figure out for him. But other than that, I think we're good to go. What time do you want me to come in tomorrow? When do you start, first of all? I always forget.
I start at
11:20. 10:20? Okay, what time do you want me to come in though?
Maybe 10:50.
Okay. And I'm working on comprehension, and that making sure that you scaffold or support enough. That's what you want me to look for. Anything else?
I don't think so.
Okay. If something comes up and you're add it on.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.